Kia ora koutou. Fabulous to be here and have you all from around the country visiting. I'm going to talk today about southern slime and particularly about improving our understanding of southern slime over the last few years. And before I get too far into things, I'd just like to acknowledge contributions particularly from our environmental data field team, who have diligently scrubbed rocks, one rock at a time around the region to help collect this information. Kathy Kilroy at NIWA for advice and input, Ton Snelder also, and Nyonda Silva and Abbas Akprasan for their respective input. So to give you a little bit of background to this work, we wanted to understand better what the situation with periphyton slime algae in Southlands rivers was. Previously, assessments that had been made for the region had relied on data collected in annual frequency, and as the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management introduced periphyton attributes, the requirements that included monthly frequency of monitoring over 3 years. So we needed to initiate a new program, and designing a new monitoring program is never an easy task. There's always compromises, but now that we've got 3 years of data, we've been able to make a first revised assessment of the state of algae in Southland. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of how we went about designing that new program, which now consists of 30 sites, illustrated in the map here with purple dots. These sites are all co-located within our network of river water quality sites, and the importance of that was to ensure that the network met dual purposes. One, to provide a revised assessment of the state of periphyton in Southland, but two, to be able to use that same information to develop a regional model for informing nutrient management in the future. So we've co-located with water quality sites, and in order to do that, we have chosen sites within our river network that cover two gradients of pressure that are important for periphyton growth. One, a hydrological gradient, essentially a measure of flushing frequency, and secondly, a measure of trophic status from oligotrophic through eutrophic. We've also preferentially chosen sites that were co-located with flow records, and ensured that the main stem, the important main stem locations of our four rivers are also represented within that. And then at the site level, we've endeavoured to standardise the observations to unshaded run habitat to reduce the effects of those factors. So the new program consists of quantitative measures of chlorophyll A, measured by going and picking up some rocks from the riverbed and then scrubbing a defined surface area off to measure chlorophyll A on the stream bed, but also making observations of percentage cover. Percentage cover is important in addition to measures of chlorophyll A, because we can use it to inform our recreational risk from toxic cyanobacteria, but also to inform against the standards in our regional water plan, which are for the percentage cover of filamentous algae and mats and diatoms. So moving on to the assessment, we have taken our monthly data with missing observations in many cases owing to high river flows that prevent observations being made, and there's an example up on the top left of this slide from the Atautau stream showing 27 observations made over that 3 year period rather than 36. We've taken that observation data and calculated a site mean chlorophyll A, and then used that site mean to estimate the 92nd percentile, akin to the frequency of exceedance 1 per year within rivers classed as the default by the national policy statement, or using an 83rd percentile for productive classes. So we've used the exponential distribution to do this, which the mean is the sole function, and enables us to estimate that exceedance percentile with more confidence where we have missing data in the record. And so the results from that are presented in the map on the right hand side of the slide, showing of those 30 sites, 40% in the A band, 27 in the B, 33 in the C, and none in the D. And that's a contrast to previous assessments from the annual frequency data that had showed a number of sites in the D band. So we went on to make a comparison between the assessments that had been made using annual frequency data versus monthly frequency data, and we did this because previous assessments had used that annual data, and we felt that it was important to understand what the differences between how we had and how we are now assessing periphyton state looked, and there was a considerable difference. Chlorophyll A from annual frequency data was on average 1.6 times higher than the chlorophyll A from monthly frequency data, and that meant that assessments of state that had previously used annual data were generally biased towards a worse condition than assessments made using monthly data. It wasn't really a surprise, given that annual samples had been collected during the summer period, which is when primary production is high in rivers and the majority of growth occurs. So this new data set, including percentage cover, has enabled us to also assess against the standards in our regional water plan for percentage cover, and the map up on this slide illustrates compliance with the thick mat and filamentous algae categories. So each monitoring site represented by a circle, with the top half of the circle red or green for mat algae cover, and the lower half of the circle red or green for filamentous algae cover. Grey sites excluded from the assessment where they are in the lowland soft bed classification. And I'll just note that for the Mataura, we have made the decision to extend the classification of hard bed sites and the respective standard to those that were appropriate. And then similarly for the ash-free dry weight standards in the water plan, we've been able to make a comparison now against that for those sites. So in conclusion, monthly monitoring was required, and we started that in 2014 with a new network of 30 sites. All 30 sites are in the A to C band. I do note that 7 sites came through with an upper prediction interval, which is in the D band. 32% of them fail to meet regional ash-free dry weight standards, 37 fail the thick mat standards, and 63 the long filament standards. So the next piece of work ahead of us is to use this data set to inform the development of nutrient management criteria for Southland rivers and streams. With respect to data worth, it's clear that monitoring frequency matters, and that monthly monitoring of periphyton has improved our understanding of southern slime. And benthic periphyton, as assessed using chlorophyll A, appears to be in a better state than some initial assessments that had been made based on the available annual frequency data at the time suggested. Environment Southland.